folks. Welcome into our roundtable discussion. Today we will be discussing District 3-6A. Tomorrow we'll be discussing the rest of the football teams. I'm here with Jeffrey Gordon and Andrew Kazee. I'm Lucas Mayer. Let's not waste any time. Jeffrey, take us away.
All right, so guys, as you said before, we have a brand new district this year, District 3-6A. And you know, it's a new district, but with a familiar twist. You know, we know all the local teams in there. We know OHS, Permian, Lee, you know, Midland High. Out of all those teams, who catches your eye?
I'll start. I'm going to go with the Permian Panthers. Blake Felt's second year here, and this team looks real good. Heath Wood at quarterback. He's going to be the man now, not going to be sharing snaps. A really improved arm when I was out there. Everyone's bought in. They had some kids quit last year. Felt's program was just too difficult for them. 8 defensive starters returning. Taylor Thompson at wideout. Brandon Bailey at running back, so a bunch of weapons. Now, Jack Fawcett, the tight end, he did hurt his shoulder. He might not be back till district, but either way, I think that this team has really bought into that mojo mystique under Blake Felt, so I'm looking for them to definitely make the playoffs out of District 3-6A. It's not going to be easy, but I think that they'll be able to do it.
It would certainly be more fun if Odessa Permian makes it to the playoffs. It's certainly fun for us to cover. I'm going to stay in Odessa, and I'm going to say Odessa High.
Okay.
They shocked everyone last year. You know, they didn't make the playoffs for however many years, and then finally they scraped in 4 years. Fourth team to go to the playoffs. They went 2 rounds deep. Now, they do lose C.J. Edison, which is, I like to call him Baby Toby Gerhardt because he's such a fun power running back to watch. But they return a plethora of guys on the offensive side of the ball, all 5 offensive linemen. They also bring back Sebastian Galindo, who's expected to be the heir apparent to C.J., and then also Nick Adams. He's going to have a pretty salty run game, which is where a lot of their success came from last year. And then the defensive side, 9 guys come back. I think OHS is a playoff team again in 2014.
Okay, guys, so who are some of the players in this district, you know, that could make a difference this year? You know, Andrew, I know that you really like Braden Hucks out of Central.
I do like Braden Hucks because they're looking for a difference maker. You see, they lost Mickey Scott, and you don't just find guys that can just drop back and throw the ball like that, and so they're looking for a difference maker. Braden is going to be moved from running back to quarterback, and he's going to be a dual threat guy. Obviously, he can run the ball, 871 yards, 13 touchdowns on the ground. He can also drop back and chuck at 213, and so, yeah, that's the guy I'm going to go with. He's surrounded by a ton of talent, too.
It's a good pick. I'm going to go with Aaron Dobbins out of Lee. You know, Lee last year was a big passing game. They had Caden Coots. This year, I think they're going to have to rely on Aaron Dobbins more. He had over 1,000 rushing yards last year and 11 TDs. There's still plenty of weapons, so they're not going to be able to load the box against them. But I think he may be more of a key component to this offense, and Lee's going to be great. So Aaron Dobbins is the guy I'm going to go with, Jeff.
It's going to have to be.
Okay, so moving on, there's no sugarcoating this next question. You know, graduation, it's good for the players, but it sucks for the teams that have to replace them, you know. So, you know, who's going to be hurt from a departing player? You know, Lucas, I know Mickey Scott was really big out of Central last year.
Absolutely. I mean, I think Mickey Scott was the reason that they were basically co-district champs. Absolutely crazy numbers from this guy, and he was a dual threat. He did it on the ground. He did it in the air. They had to respect him so much that it set everyone else up on the team. I mean, everyone that went on, he was just incredible, and no one really saw it coming, even though he had a great year before. Everyone was focused on Lorenzo Joe. Mickey Scott really did it for Central, so I think that's going to be a huge hole for them this year.
Now, this was a struggle for me because I wanted to go with Mickey Scott, but I'm going to go a different route and stick with one of our teams here in Midland. For me, it's going to be on DeAndre Goodley and Mizell Justice. I know Midland High missed the playoffs last year, but they had a lot to do with the outbreak of Ryan Goodrum. And see, these two guys, both very talented, very athletic wide receivers, stretched the field, deep threat, created nightmares for defensive coordinators. It's going to be very difficult for Midland High to move on without these two beasts on the outside.
All right, guys, so let's get straight to the point. Who's going to the playoffs this year, Lucas?
Well, start off with, I think we go back to, you can see the Dave Campbell's predictions right here. This is who the magazine believes is going to be out there. I'm going to go with Central and Lee as having the best shots, and I'm going to pick Abilene High and the Permian Panthers to make it as well.
I'm going to go with the same district championship, or district champion, San Angelo Central, but I'm really high on Permian this year. I really like what Blake Phelps is doing, despite the fact losing McCorbin Fields. And then, again, I think Abilene High, they make it back to the playoffs. And, again, as I mentioned earlier, Odessa High, I think they're a playoff team again.
I think what we know is that this year, once again, that fourth spot, it may come down to the final week just like last year.
Good.
It was fun time.
It was.
fun
It was
time.
a
Oh,
blast.
yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it in person this time. So,
Very true.
yeah.
All right, well, that is all for our first roundtable. You want to make sure to tune in tomorrow. We're going to be discussing the rest of the districts, 4A through 1A. It's going to be good stuff.